Ah yes, Edward III. A man who rose to the throne by yeeting his mother's boyfriend out of a window, declared war on France for whatever reasons, invented cosplay tournaments and accidentally created Parliament as we know it. Oh, and there is a pandemic that kills half the population. Yes, folks, it is Game of Thrones, if written by a very tired civil servant with a plague boil the size of a turnip. Edward takes the crown after removing Roger Mortimer, his mother's lover, regent, and political equivalent of athlete's foot. Publicly announces, "Do not worry, peasants, I shall now rule with right and reason," which is medieval for "we are winging it but with banners." He actually speaks English. Shocking, I know. Also gives out earldoms like they are Black Friday coupons. Remember when the Scots humiliated Edward as a child? Well, he did not. He remembered it forever. His first military gig, smashing Scotland. Victory at Halidon Hill in 1333. Think Braveheart but backwards. He props up a puppet king, Edward Balliol, possibly named after a cheese, and retakes Berwick. That was the last time he would fight on English soil. From here on, it's off to France. France. The X you just cannot stop texting. Edward had a teeny issue with being a vassal to the French king for the Duchy of Gascony. Said it offended his honour. So naturally, he claims the French throne, because nothing says, "Let us de-escalate," like declaring yourself the King of France. He launches the 100 Years' War, which lasts 116 years. That's not a war. That is a lifestyle choice. He founds the Order of the Garter, which sounds like a medieval lingerie shop, but is actually a bro club for knights. Motto? Shame on him who thinks ill of it. Bold words for a man wearing 14 layers of chainmail and velvet. He rebuilds Windsor Castle, invents Arthurian cosplay, and creates a round table building bigger than the Pantheon. All of this, of course, paid for by taxing wool until sheep wept. Then came the party crasher, the Black Death. Half the country dies. People swell up like overripe fruit and drop dead within 3 days. Entire villages vanish. Children plough fields. England becomes one giant haunted house. Did Edward say anything? Nope. He was probably too busy war planning or flirting with a woman named Alice Perez. But there is a silver lining. Fewer workers means higher wages. The peasants start demanding pay and dignity. Naturally, Parliament bans both, because of course they do. The king, meanwhile, keeps bleeding the wool industry dry to fund his wars. When Parliament complains, Edward says, "Fine, I will listen to you just this once." In 1340, the Commons say, "Right, we will give you money if you let us oversee spending." Boom, modern Parliament is born. All because the king needed to buy arrows and could not afford them. Later, the good Parliament actually impeaches corrupt officials. Yes, in 1376, members of Parliament were more effective than they are now. On the battlefield, Edward and his son, the Black Prince, are medieval wrecking balls. At Crécy and Poitiers, longbows obliterate French knights like pincushions on legs. At Poitiers, they capture the French king, parade him through London like a piñata on tour. In return, France agrees to give Edward half the country. France then says, "Just kidding," and takes it all back when Edward gets old and gouty. In his final years, Edward's glory fades. Alice Perez allegedly steals his rings on his deathbed because every king needs one last bit of medieval drama. But what does Edward III leave behind? A parliament with real power, a country speaking English, not French, a middle class of disgruntled peasants who know their worth, and a completely unnecessary war that lasted longer than most empires. Bravo. So, what did we learn today? Well, we learned that if you launch a century-long war over a dodgy family tree, build a cosplay castle, nearly bankrupt the economy with wool, ignore a literal apocalypse of disease, and still manage to invent Parliament by accident, you can still be remembered as a great king. Edward III gave us longbows, dead French kings, traumatized sheep, and one hell of a funeral bill. His reign was proof that with enough pomp, plague, and passive-aggressive politics, you too can leave behind a legacy of mildly organized chaos. Cheers, Eddie. You gave England a sense of national identity, just as long as that identity involved swords, taxes and a deeply confused parliament. Follow for more history drenched in sarcasm and dread.